Hello and welcome to Tech World's Fast Five Discussions, and thank you for joining us for today's show. My name's Al Martine, and today we're chatting with Jack Molisani, the Executive Director of the LavaCon Conference. We have a few topics to discuss today. LavaCon 2015, which is happening in New Orleans, as well as his thoughts on how to bring content strategy to the enterprise. Also, joining me for the call is going to be Tech World's editor, Connie Giordano, and Jill Parman will be helping us take notes on the Google Live Notes. You can find that if you've come to Tech World's site. There's a link to the Live Notes. If by some chance if you see some stuff you want to add to them, please do so. But we're going to take those throughout the entire call. We'll leave those public in case you wanted to kind of augment seeing the video again, and we'll use those for our article as well. So, Mr. Molisani, welcome back. You got 2 months, man, before LavaCon. How's it going?
I know. So it's going well. We're at that stage where I get to do all the fun meeting planning parties, and all the social things, but the program itself has been nailed down for quite a while now.
Well, good. That's awesome. Fantastic. Yeah. We're going to certainly explore that as we go through. So we'll turn to Connie as well before we dive into our Fast Five. How goes content technology, communications, technical writing? How is this world?
This world stays pretty busy, surprisingly. Because it is we are a relatively small niche in the grand scheme of content, but the Tech World gets around 1,500 visitors a day, and they're interested in all kinds of things related to content, technical writing, and data, and instructional design, and whatever, So we are now full-blown into our fall season. We spent the summer doing some reruns of some really good classic stuff, and now we've got some new stuff coming on board. Alyssa Fox has a column out today on what to look for in a resume. So always something going on at Tech World. We're a fun bunch, and there's always something being talked about on the list too. So
fantastic. All right. Well, good stuff. And so these are our Fast Fives. We have. Essentially, there are five big questions. We'll inevitably ask more than that, but five's where we start. We have some questions are submitted during the sign-up. We have a couple of those that we'll throw in, as well as using the Twitter hashtag, #TWFast5. You can, on the page that you're watching this, unless you're on YouTube, you can click on the little tweet button and send it out there. I have that over on a different screen. One of the things, Jack, do you want to talk through how we're going to handle the admissions, your random drawing at the end?
Yes. So one of the things we're doing today is giving away a free entrance to LavaCon. You have to get yourself there, but it'll be a comp entrance for both the workshops and the conference itself. What we decided on is everybody who wants to be participating in this, do a tweet or post on Facebook on LavaCon's page, something from this session, something you learned or why you want to go to LavaCon. And at the end of the session, we won't do it live, but we'll do it right after. We'll take a random number generator and add up all the tweets and choose one at random, and we'll get to you, let you know that you won. If you're already a LavaCon attendee, if you're virtual, you can change that to a live in person, and if you're already a live in person, you can give it to your boss or colleague.
Very nice. So, so you get there. Your accommodation is you guys are the person attending has to do all those things: beads, additional drinks, all of that covered by the person attending. But getting in and enjoying it. You have wonderful food, good coffee, so if by some chance you spend a little more time in New Orleans doing some sort of research on the street during the evenings, then, plenty of good coffee to pick you up for some of the great sessions. So,
not only are we doing plenty of coffee this year, good? Ooh. All right.
Yeah, go for it.
Not only are we doing plenty of coffee this year, we're offering a barista cart for all 3 days, and in the afternoon we're going to open a beer garden, so you can actually do true local research while you're at the conference.
Fantastic. So we don't have to hide the bottles underneath the booth thing like we normally do. That's fantastic. Yes. All right.
Or to those little koogies that looks like you're drinking a Coke when it's really a Miller.
Yeah. I've always found Mountain Dew bottles were good for that. If I'd ever done something like that, and I have not.
Oh no.
All right.
Never.
So we got five questions. We got a lot of these, and I'm sure we're going to see some folks asking questions as well, given what a neat opportunity. So let's go ahead and start. Connie, do you want to lead off?
All right. So we're going to start with the really, really basic question. What is LavaCon, and why should somebody decide to go to or choose LavaCon for that first time? What is it that they're going to take away from it that makes it worth making that choice and going to the boss and asking for the money and all that good stuff?
Sure. There's actually 3 questions in there, so we'll take one at a time. LavaCon is a gathering place for content strategists, documentation managers, and other content professionals. The reason it's called LavaCon is because we started in Hawaii and up to 2008 when we took it to the mainland. So one of the reasons I kept the name LavaCon is, one, we already had a following by that name, but my conference, we try to include that aloha spirit in every event we do. So the conference tends to be in fun, walkable, historic places. We've been in Old Town San Diego, downtown Portland. This year we're in New Orleans. All walkable, historic, fun places to be. So it's a quality conference in a fun location.
Which makes all the difference to me.
So to answer your last question about why would a new attendee come to LavaCon if they haven't been before, the best way I can answer that is for attendees to print off the schedule at a glance and look at the sessions that our focus this year is either on revenue generating or cost savings. And when I say generating revenue, I'm not just talking about content marketing. There are whole conferences just out there on content marketing. But there's a brilliant example MindTouch uses that they did with one of their customers, where MindTouch is a open source tech support documentation repository system. And it interfaces with marketing systems. So one of the cell phone companies, HTC, was using MindTouch as their tech support portal where all the user documentation was held. And if you look up, how do I change the phone in my battery, the system will send an interrupt over to the marketing system, which will send you an email going, hey, see that you just looked up how to change your battery. Here's a coupon to buy a brand new phone if you want one. So now we're using legacy content to generate sales, to generate revenue, right? Or if you're translating your documentation into multiple languages, at what point does it make sense to convert your documentation to structured authoring in a CMS, maybe DITA, maybe not, or does it make sense to translate your legacy content, or where do we draw the line in the sand and say, okay, we'll go structured authoring here forward, but we're not going to convert our legacy. So to bring this back into kind of a summary, LavaCon is a conference where you can talk to other people doing content strategy for their companies. And you can ask what worked, what didn't. My speakers are all practicing professionals who are willing to share their best practices and their lessons learned, both what worked and what didn't, because I'm a firm believer that you should learn from the mistakes of others. It's faster than making them all yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right, we'll let you stick to it. So we got a good lowdown on why you should go if you've never been before. So if you've been before, what are we doing? Our 5th year with you this right. Coming year. So if I weren't so heavily involved in it, but was trying to decide if I'm coming back, tell me why I should come back. What's new?
Right. Well, I can tell you this. We've had our highest ever attendance this year, our highest ever number of exhibitors. It's turning out to be a really, really solid program. One of the things that we're doing differently this year is, in the past, we've recorded and live streamed 1 out of the 5 breakout sessions in the keynotes. This year, our Diamond sponsor is Adobe Systems, who are providing a instance of Adobe Connect for all 5 breakout sessions. One will include the live video feed, the other one will be in webinar format. But now, I've gotten so many complaints in the past where there were too many good sessions. I couldn't get them all at one time. Now you can go to whatever session you want to attend in person, then go back and listen to the other ones that you weren't able to get. And that is included in your cost of conference.
Very nice.
That's great.
We've also expanded the governance and management track this year. I've discovered that content strategy, content management systems have been around for a while. DITA's going on its, 7th, 10th year now. So we don't want to just keep reinventing the same old sessions. So a lot of companies are past that point of initial engagement or the initial adopting of the early adopters. And they're starting to get into hands-on, rolling things out, running into problems. So we try to follow that content development life cycle in the program. So if you are new, we've got sessions for you. If you're in full-blown production mode, boy, do we have sessions for you. And if you're on the management governance or even looking forward, where do we go from here? We have a track just for that.
That's excellent.
So I guess it depends where your company is and your what's the word I'm looking for? Methodology adoption.
Yeah, journey to all things content.
Content maturity model.
There you go. There you go. That works. That works. All right. Well, that's cool. I'm looking forward to it. Even doing my presentation there. So.
Yep.
All right, Al.
Yeah, let's. So you mentioned sort of a grouping in some of the different areas. There are 5 tracks this year, and you do have some pre-conference workshops. Could you just tell us a little bit about these tracks and what each one's about and what you could expect from them?
Sure. The tracks themselves loosely follow the content development lifecycle. So you start out just doing strategy, planning. Is it time to implement content strategy? How much content strategy? How much structured authoring are we going to do? Last year, I introduced a completely separate track dedicated to the user experience, because I am a firm believer that the content in a software system or content that supports a product is just as important of a piece of the UI as the product itself is, right? And we need to be, if not at that table, driving that table, all right? So here's content strategy, user experience, and then production. All right, we've got everything in place. We're producing content. Here we go. From there, tools and technology, right? Both for producing what we have and maybe transitioning to a more robust, maybe you've outgrown your existing authoring tool and are looking for something a little more management or enterprise-wide. So we'll have vendors there. But the tools and technology is going, what are the best practices? What's coming down the pipe? What are the newest advances in technology that we can take advantage of? Everything from mobile to virtual reality that's coming. And then finally, the last track being management and governance. How do you manage this whole beast of a content-wide, enterprise-wide content system? So both managing people and managing the technology and managing budgets and how do you get the funding for all these various activities. So we're going to follow that whole content development lifecycle.
Very easy to understand why you would have to have half of, all but one on video. Yeah, there's a lot happening there, isn't it? So, yeah, no, it sounds very full. We're looking forward to it. And got some writers coming. We will certainly be covering aspects of it and sharing that in the post and everyone getting to watch. So, very nice.
I can also add for the viewers that, getting back to Connie's question about why should they attend, all of our keynotes and the virtual track breakout sessions from last year are now on the conference website, and you may view those free of charge, because that'll give you a feeling of the types of sessions we offer at LavaCon. And then, again, go through the schedule at a glance and just highlight those sessions that you think applies to your group, and take those back to your manager and say, listen, I think we're losing money by not doing these things. Why don't you send me to the conference and we'll see how much money we can save the company? See, they're losing money by not sending you to the conference. That's my big point.
That's a good art. That's good business where you're
Isn't that
losing money. I like it. All right, before Connie hits hers, we'll do one of the submitted questions that we have.
Okay.
I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. We had a little bit. For those of you who have been to LavaCon before, is there a tip you have attendees? Something that we wish we would have done first time. So for brand new folks coming, is there a specific thing you would recommend?
Bring your business cards. I tell people every year. What's interesting about attending a conference, especially a conference like mine that is very much fosters interaction between the various speakers and the attendees, keep in mind this is not a speaker talking at you for 45 minutes to an hour at each slot. It's a very interactive event. We crowdsource best practices. All right, here's how the speaker has handled this problem. Is there anybody else in the room who have had this problem? How did you handle it? How did you handle it? Right? And it becomes this collective mind where you're not just getting input from one speaker, you're getting best practices from all over the, I'm not going to say country, world, because we have international attendees as well. So be prepared to network. Talk to the exhibitors. If you're trying to build a business case for moving to some of these tools, they have metrics that you can use. If you need to learn how to say, what are your key performance indicators, metrics, that will tell you whether or not you're being effective in your content strategy or content rollout, those metrics are available. Now, mind you, there's a huge difference between writing, say, automotive, or let's take aeronautics maintenance materials. If you're working for Boeing, you develop a completely different content than if you were working for a .com startup. So by finding other .com startups, you go, okay, I'm trying to do this on a shoestring. How do you do it? How did you do it? And the Boeings can talk to the other airline people, and you really get that synergy of, I'm going to find somebody at the conference who does what I do and are running into the same problems I am, or opportunities. I don't want to call them all problems. But you really get that synergy, so talk to your people, network. Even at the social events, we're gonna have a karaoke night one night that we're gonna have a Mardi Gras parade leading us to, with probably stilt walkers and a brass band. On Sunday night, we're gonna do a jazz club crawl.
Ooh.
And they're all meeting at a club for a show and then walking Frenchman Street. Just sitting around after hours, talking with other attendees, you're going to get almost as much out of that as you do during the conference itself. So for the new people, don't sit there in a corner. Be out there, engage the other attendees. You'll learn something. One more thing. I find that I always learn something in a session that I'm teaching, right?
Absolutely.
Or I'll say this, and somebody in the audience go, wow, we tried that, and we did this, and got it. And I went, oh my God, I never thought of that. No, taking notes. I'll use that next time. So it's just this really interactive experience. So take advantage of it.
Connie, any tips?
My tip would be and bring an extra battery for your laptop, because you will take a lot of very useful notes. I totally agree with what Jack said about speakers who are leading a discussion, and that's typically when I've done these kinds of things in the past, and my approach again this year is, it's a discussion. This is my experience and how I think it might apply to you, but you tell me, kind of approach. So you definitely want to be able to take a lot of notes. And the other thing is, like Jack said, be out there, because ask questions. We're all there to learn. Even the folks that are giving the keynotes and handling the workshops and delivering all of these wonderful sessions, we're all there to learn something, and we always do. There's always something that you didn't know before, and practical as well as theoretical. And that's one of the things that I really like about it, is it's a really nice combination of the two.
And I would. Oh, go on, Jeff. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to add something that Connie said, that when we put the program together this year, I made a point to say I don't want academic theoretical sessions. I want case studies. Give me a problem you ran into. How did your company overcome it? here are lessons we learned when implementing this. So and we also don't have a lot of how do I phrase, salespeople who are just doing demos of the product. They may mention their product in the case study, but it's not going to be a demo. So all the sessions there are very much, how do I do something? How do I take this data home and apply it when I get back to the office? Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And my recommendation for folks who are new, the business card is really good, and use them. Like, have them and hand them out. And if you receive cards, then connect with folks afterwards. Like, it's a lot of times, I think a lot of folks get overwhelmed. They get 100 business cards and then just sort of shut down and not do it. And two is pacing in general, which is between having 5 sessions and all the various activities, as well as the evening and whatever. Know you're going to be tired. Know at the end, right, from learning a lot of stuff, but also socializing and networking and everything else. But yeah, just sort of pace through and try to give yourself a little bit of time while you're there to, whether it be meet some of the vendors, go connect with folks that you've met in sessions, and really get as much as you can out of it. But don't wear out on day one. It's you had 3 days here, man. You could have 4 days. So really pace.
Also, on the back of people's business cards, write down where you met them, what the question was, because I come home with 100 business cards. God, which one was this person? So take notes. Bring a sweater if you run cold. New Orleans loves their air conditioning. And
that's good to know.
and we are going to have a conference app that's going to be HTML based, so you don't have to download it from an app store. But if you just access the URL either on your laptop, mobile device, or phone, you can schedule which sessions you want to go to ahead of time. So you'll just know where you need to be, and you can also interact with other conference attendees right through the mobile app. So we'll have that as well.
That's good.
So we'll get some more of that information up on Tech World as well, and make sure we throw that into the notes and whatnot. Connie, do you want to go ahead and ask our next official 5 question?
Okay. All right. This one actually has a lot of personal relevance for me right now with one of my clients. Implementing content technologies and strategies beyond Word docs and SharePoint seems to be really difficult for a lot of companies, including the one that I'm doing a lot of work for right now, because SharePoint is what they've been given. Why is that? I mean, if I'm a manager, what are some of the things that I can start to do now that are going to get me down that path towards the right content technologies for my company?
I want to share an anecdote to answer your question, and then direct you to which sessions at the conference are going to directly answer your question. A air cargo company, not to be named, came to me as a staffing recruiter needing 5 content specialists to document procedures. They had just landed a contract with the U.S. government to carry airmail, and in the past they would barcode scan bins, but the new rule is each piece of mail had to be barcode scanned so they knew where it was in the system. Well, they had bought all this, they spent millions of dollars on the scanning equipment, but didn't write down any policies and procedures on where do you put the mail before you scan it, where do you put it after you scan it, how do you get it on the plane. So they wanted 5 people to go into their 5 major hubs and document how to do that. So I found 5 people that had airline experience, and the manager came back to me and said, I couldn't get the headcount approved. So I said, well, what are you going to do? And he says, well, we're just going to cobble a team together. Now, there was an interesting clause in the contract saying if you are not per piece barcode compliant by the 1st of May, you still have to carry the mail. We just don't have to pay you.
Oh.
So I checked in after May and went, hey, Bob, how'd that project go? And he said, it failed miserably. We lost over $5.5 million in revenue. And I went, whoa. Are you telling me you lost over $5.5 million in revenue because you didn't want to spend 20 grand on some tech writers? And he goes, yeah, but you need to realize in certain circumstances it's easier to forgive lost revenue than it is to get a PO approved. I assert that that manager did a woefully inadequate job of building a business case on why he needed the resources. So that said, in our conferences here in the management track, we've got sessions, keynotes on how to speak CEO or CFO. How do you get to people who hold the power and purse strings? How do you build a business case for the resources you want? What are the resources you need to implement a content management system, and how much money are you going to save by implementing it? And then prototype. Get a little tiny bit of budget. Do a project. Show how it would return on investment if amortized over the enterprise as a whole. And these are the very questions that you are not alone in facing, and the exact questions that we're addressing at the conference.
And this is a follow-on that Jack isn't prepared for, so y'all just be patient here. It seems to me, in my experience with a lot of companies of differing sizes, the larger the company, the more likely they are going to have a SharePoint system that you are forced to use. So will any of those sessions sort of address, okay, I don't have a choice, I got to deal with what I'm dealing with. So what are some ways that I can, make the best of a really bad situation?
Yes. In fact, Sarah O'Keefe is doing a keynote called Content Strategy Triage. Who do you keep? Who do you save? Who do you let die? There are things you are just not going to be able to do with the resources you have available. There are things that you must do with the resources you have available. Now let's figure out how we're going to get from here to here. Who can we save? How are we going to do it? So it's about kind of doing a gap analysis where you go, all right, this is what we have. This is where we want to be. Now, can we do it incrementally with the tools we have? And I assert, as part of the sessions on reaching the people who have the power and purse strings, when a company is faced where we must use this, well, the only reason you must use that is because you haven't built a business case on why to use something else. So you keep things going in parallel, doing what you got, while you build that business case to do what you really want to do and show why it's going to save your company money or why it's going to generate far more revenue than it's going to cost you to implement it. And I assert, and again, this is just Jack's opinion, that if someone is telling you you must use this tool, you are not talking to the right person who has the purse strings. Because if you can save a company $20,000 a quarter on translation costs, the CFO wants to know that, not the SharePoint administrator, right? So at some point, you need to maybe even jump silos, going, ugh, okay, you may not see the return on investment in your department, but we will on the back end. But again, it's a communication issue, not a technology issue.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And a good bridge here, and a shameless plug for at least one of your presentations, is that we are putting the presentation that I'm leading is actually the content triangle, looking at technology, strategy, and development of content, and pulling apart this idea and putting it into a framework where you can analyze what you're currently doing through your technology, what current strategies and approaches you're using, and then how the development is for today, and then what the future would look like. So if you are moving from, say, Word to a more developed structured writing, how is that going to change your strategy? How is that going to in your planning? And what type of planning would you need to put in? Training? How are you going to manage to change in this process? And what type of either pain points or benefits are you going to see? So by pulling those apart, it should be able to make for more convincing business cases, more convincing arguments moving forward. So, and as soon as I write it, you guys will know more.
And following your session, Connie, you're going to be speaking on how to integrate that content planning across the enterprise.
Yeah, this is kind of the idea of, okay, we all hear about how we have to break down silos and we have to do this, that, and the other. Well, I'm not going to tell you how many years in this business I've been in all the silos, so I kind of know what a lot of those pain points are. And so this is kind of a look at how you can start putting together the team sometimes in an informal way, sometimes in an absolutely formal project, we're going to do this thing way, to make sure that you're getting the most out of scheduling the content you have, deciding what's going to be reused in what arenas, because what you use for marketing, the message might be the same, but the way that you approach it is going to be different, and we all know that. So this is kind of like, okay, what are the things I need to do? What are the tools I need to organize this so that it doesn't drive me absolutely insane? Because it can. What's a marketing? What's a tech content? What's training? That sort of thing.
One of the things that we're doing at the conferences here is we've been talking about breaking down silos for years. Guess what? It ain't happening. It's not. So what can we do if what we've been trying to do isn't working? And I came up with this idea of doing like a United Nations of content, where instead of trying to break down silos, just get all the various representatives, ambassadors from all the organizations around the table at the same time. Now you've got somebody from content strategy or content development at the same table as production, at the same table as support, at the same table as marketing. And now it becomes, you know, we've got this roundtable viewpoint where content needs to be integrated into the whole user experience, not just brought in at the end. Right?
Yeah.
And again, you can only do that if you've got access to the people who hold the power and purse strings, which is why I am stressing that so much in the keynotes this year.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. Al froze up, and he will be back momentarily, so we can just keep talking about this, because over 20, 30 some years doing all of these different things, one of the key pieces to this is something that we talk about at a lot of the conferences, and sort of building your more of the soft skills in terms of you got to go find out who your potential allies are. So even at the point where it may be a manager in the HR department who's got to do standards and procedures or policies. There are a ton of people, and this is one of my new things that I tend to talk about a lot with people who actually care about these things. There are an awful lot of people in the content world who would never even think of calling themselves technical writers, even though what they're doing is technical writing. So there are a couple of key pieces in my mind. One of them is use the language of the people around you. So if I'm a policy writer, know that I'm a writer and that I have to do very technical content, but that it's a different kind of content than if I have to do manufacturing floor procedures or software, and that sort of thing. So I think that's one of the things that I'm going to try and bring out in mine is, you need to understand the nature of the different kinds of things you're doing, but you also need to sort of do what you can do in a less formal way of, go invite that HR manager or the line supervisor to have a cup of coffee and find out what it is they need and how you guys can work together before you go talk to the CFO to say we need to do this on an enterprise level.
A couple things to add to what you just said. I really would like all the attendees that are coming this year to go back and watch or re-watch a couple of the keynotes from last year. Naz Rabina's Storming the Castle, how do you get access to the people who hold the power and purse strings? Andrea Ames did a phenomenal keynote on advancing your content career. And it may be that what you need to learn to advance your career is not how to implement a CMS. It may be taking a public speaking class through Toastmasters. It may be taking an improv class so you can not get flustered when a manager throws a question at you that you weren't particularly prepared for. Because now we're taking last year's sessions a step further. One of my keynotes this year is Vicky Koster-Landhart, who is the U.S. Employment Coordinator for Europe for the U.S. Department of State, talking about taking back your content career. Where in your organization have we not done such a good job going like the seagulls in Finding Nemo? Mine. Mine. That's my area of expertise. We should be doing that. I should have that head count. And this is why, right? David Dylan Thomas, another one of my keynotes, is doing a key. Oh, by the way, this year all of our keynotes are TED-like talks, 18 minutes long, followed by another breakout session where they'll dive deeper into the topic and more hands-on.
Oh, that's
So
how the program.
yeah, that's
okay,
one of the new things we're doing this year.
It. Okay.
Plus, anybody can sit and listen to a webinar for 18 minutes. You know, it's not like you're committing to an hour. So these are going to be tweetable and shareable and little info snacks that you can go back and see later. But the reason I bring it up is David's doing this great session on what problem are you trying to solve? You're going into a meeting and say, we need a CMS. Well, hold on. Well, maybe you don't. You know, well, how much of a CMS to use? So start with the question, what business problem are you trying to solve? Either you personally, the person attending this webinar right now, or what business is your client, or what problem is your boss trying to solve? I'm going to add one more thing and then turn it back to you. Andrea Ames from IBM has the first person to rise to her level of IBM from an information development background. And when people ask her what does she do for a living, she says, I solve business problems. Not I'm a tech writer, not I'm a content strategist, not I'm a user experience strategist, all of which she is, but that's not how she approaches her job, right? And when asked, well, how do you find business problems to solve? She goes, I ask for them. Every quarter I report to my directors and say, what's keeping you up at night that my department can help you fix, right? So if you're the one going around solving all their content problems, who do you think they're not going to lay off when there's the next reduction in force? The person solving all their problems? I don't think so. So it's your responsibility to make yourself so valuable to your company they wouldn't think of letting you go because you're saving them money or generating revenue. And again, that is all part of developing your personal. My conference has always been not on just tools, but the whole thing, the whole gestalt. How can I help you as an attendee become more valuable to your company, in which case they makes it more valuable to you? So that was my very long answer to your very short question.
Well, it wasn't really all that short, but it was a good discussion, so we'll go with that.
I was able to take a siesta and come back during that dialogue. Thank you all for that, and thank you,
That's
Google,
like playing American Pie as a DJ, so you can go out and take a 26-minute potty break.
Yes, thank you, Google, for allowing me to figure out how quickly I can rebuild a entire list of things. Okay, so our number four question here. Do the practical implications of enterprise content strategy and management, right, really doing these things, differ in large companies versus, say, small or medium-sized companies? And thoughts on where LavaCon, where you would fit in if I'm coming from, say, a large Fortune 100 company versus an SME or a small, medium-sized enterprise coming in?
At the top of the hour, I mentioned bring your business card because you will find people, your people who are doing what you're doing in a similar environment to you. On one hand, I've got a client, the Boeings and the EMCs, that are sending 26 attendees.
Oh, wow.
26. Some in person, some virtual. Because there's not just one Boeing. There are multiple divisions. There's not just one HP. You got the server division, the hardware division, the services division, the consulting division. So each one of these silos, business units, let's call them business units, has requirements that are different than the others. Give you another example. I am often a judge on the Association for Support Professionals Best Tech Support Website contest every year. And a brilliant example that I saw of an integrated content strategy was from Siemens, which is an international organization. And this happened to be a web page because it was the tech support website. But they did 3 quadrants. Quadrants? What's a three version of a quad? Trident? 3 sections of the website where across the top it was pulling in the international branding from Siemens. On the left side of the screen, it pulled in country and regional information, and then in the third pane it was the tech support stuff you were actually looking up. But that was a brilliant example of it being customized. It knew what country you in, what products did you have, and would tailor, and what device you were browsing on,
Wow.
or on which device you were browsing for your grammarians, to really tailor that experience for you. Now, granted, can a startup do something that big? No, it takes more resources than that. So smaller organizations, smaller content strategy. Larger organizations, more robust content strategy. And the really big ones, you really need a chief content officer spanning every business unit. So find your people and work with them.
Cool.
Very nice.
Yeah, we got a Twitter question in, and from Kate, who says the United Nations of Content is a great idea. Will there be more about this concept at the conference?
Yes and no. About how much of this can I talk about? Let's just say I snagged UnitedNationsOfContent.com, and there are plans in the works to do a round-the-clock, 24-hour, as the sun rotates the planet, live virtual conference. So
interesting. It's ambitious.
It is. It is. It's not going to be this month. And we haven't even sent out the call for speakers. But it will be live streamed, free, and we'll just have speakers from whatever time zone and country zones we are in. So when the sun is over the Far East, we'll have Far East speakers. When it's over the nearest, we'll have nearest speakers. When it's over the United States, we'll have English speakers. Yeah, it's going to be good.
That's
but in the meantime,
I like it.
But in the meantime, go back to some of the keynotes that we're doing on how to cross silos. How do you get? It's basically how do you get a seat at the content table or at the funding table. You got to get to the table first before they may not call on you. You may just have to sit there and go, yeah. But at least you're at the table. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So
I expect to see Kate there then.
Yeah.
We got about 20 minutes here, a few more submitted questions, and then our final fifth question here. So, person submitted in the registration. So they've been out of the field for 5 years, but they're getting back into it. Can you recommend any? Now they don't say this here, but conferences, also books, software, methodologies that they should brush up on, as they're getting back up to speed in the field. So I'll lob this very gentle softball to you and allow you to take a swing.
Yeah. What's really interesting is there is hundreds of webinars out there now on content strategy tools. All the vendors do webinars on their own tools and technology. Just search the internet for Introduction to Content Strategy, and you can listen to these in the comfort of your own home, or put on your headphones in your office. Learn all the basics that way. Learn what tools are out there. People ask me, what's the best content strategy tool or content management tool? I'm going, what level of content management are you doing? Who's your target audience? One of the advantages, now, start with the free stuff, but then you'll come to a point where you need to talk to people. You may need to bring in a consultant. One of the reasons Sarah O'Keefe from Scriptorium likes exhibiting at LavaCon, because she says, all my clients are here, and I can see them all at one place without flying all over the country. A lot of the multi-city businesses that I mentioned have departmental meetings while they're at LavaCon, because everybody's there at one time, one place. So by coming to any content, Ann Rockley's Intelligent Content Conference dives much more deeply than I do into the concept of customizable intelligent content for really a customizable experience. I talk about it at a strategy level, but not how to tag things at the topic and reuse level. So if that's what you really want to know about, go to that conference. If you want to learn how to manage projects, well, go to Project Management World. If you really want to know about localization, go to Localization World, right? If you are all you want to know is how do I write content, well, maybe Information Development World is a better conference for you than mine. Where I've always said, or if you want real just tools and technology, Mad World, or what Scott Joe Walensky's conference is
Writers
help me out.
UA.
Writers UA. Okay, if you were just interested in Writers UA kind of tools, LavaCon is kind of what I call a meta conference, where we have a project management track, and we have a user experience track, and we have a tools and technology track, and we have a content development track, which gives you a really good breadth and depth on what's going on and what's hot and what's not. Then, at the end of the conference, if you find you need more information, then you go dive deeper in one of the other events. But we are going to have we're almost solely positioned, there's overlap between us conferences, but you will have all the content management vendors in one spot. You will have the leading content content strategy consulting companies in one spot. You will have the tool vendors in one spot. Then you can talk to them, say, this is what I'm looking for. Do you want to give me at least a budgetary estimate? Maybe I have to put it in my budget 5 years out. That's reasonable. We talked earlier, how do you get from SharePoint to enterprise content management system content level? Well, maybe you need to do some prototyping. It may be a 2 to 5 year plan, but by coming to a live event, whatever live event you go to, meet with the movers and the shakers in the industry, learn from them, because we're sharing our best practices, and say, hey, I might be able to use your services moving forward. Because you're going to have some authoring environment, you have to have some guidance. If you're not a senior content strategist, you're going to need help. Ours is a good place to meet other people doing it.
Agreed. All right, Connie, do you want to go ahead and throw the fifth and final official question in?
Okay.
Give me a best shot.
So now number 7.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask that, but I didn't know if I should ask that. But anyway, well, this is kind of, again, somewhat of a, this is another one of those general sort of overview things. And we talked a little bit about bits and pieces of this throughout this entire conversation. Is what's kind of advice do you offer first-time attendees to get the most out of their whole LavaCon experience?
We're going to do an exercise. I mentioned that I'm really making the conference interactive. There are going to be things where you have to get up and do things. We're not going to play telephone, but that would be fun. I invite people that if you're a quiet introvert, get out there and talk to people. If you're the person normally monopolizing the conversation, maybe at LavaCon pull back a little bit and listen a little bit more. One of the values in going to a group that's a gathering place of your peers is the combined hive mind, the bazillion years of collective experience that'll be in one room at one time. And together, we're greater than the sum of the individual pieces, right? So, one, ask questions. Don't be afraid to raise your hand. My sessions are not, hold your questions to the end of the presentation, right? No, raise your hand. Tweet questions to the speakers. Write them down. Maybe we'll get one of those big hats, so you can do scenes from a hat, and we can pull questions out at random and ball them up and throw them at the speakers. I mean, that would be a way to get their attention. Virtual audience, questions. You are not sitting in your office just listening. This is group participation. So we will have chocolate. Oh, by the way, we're going to have a chocolate exchange table where people from various countries and states are going to bring their local chocolates. I'm not sure how we're going to do the virtual chocolate yet, but we'll work on that. But just really come prepared to interact. Interact with your peers, interact with the speakers, interact with the sponsors, interact with the exhibitors, interact with the coffee cart. Just come to the social.
And the brass band.
And the brass. We're going to have brass band. We've got a police escort lined up that is going to do dun 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 dun. Oh, wait a minute. Do I have it handy? I'm sorry. Oh, it's going to be fun.
TV right here.
Everyone's getting a kazoo.
This is what YouTube is about. Kazoo playing right there on screen. Yeah, it's right here. We get here.
And I want to add that one of the fun things I get to do as a conference planner is I go to conferences. I see what I like and I see what I don't like. And one of the reasons the food, that if you're paying, I'm not the cheapest conference on the block. I'll admit that, but I've got the best conference experience on the block. So you're going to get more than chicken and steamed broccoli. We're going to have beignets, and there's going to be crawfish etouffee, and there's going to be vegan options and vegetarian options and gluten-free options and chocolate options, and we're having parades and karaoke nights and pub crawls. After the session, you still have to show up to the sessions. You don't get to sleep in and skip the sessions. But just really come prepared for that total conference experience. I really try to practice what I preach. I teach user experience. I should practice it.
And it's a very immersive experience, which I think is one of the things that most people who've never been, it's worth it, just because you never know what's going to happen around the next corner.
Yeah.
Agreed. And the people that are coming to, we've been to a lot of these conferences, and there's a number of notable differences and a lot of good conferences, and the ones you named there are all excellent. This one brings a lot of managers in, a lot of content strategy people, a lot of decision makers all up in the same place, and they're interested in speaking with folks and talking and sharing ideas and learning. And really kind of going after that, and then in addition to that, you then have a really wonderful environment. And Portland was awesome. We started in Austin in 2011. That was our first one. And
with your paper airplanes.
Yep, we did. We did when we couldn't afford any other swag, so we did our flyers, and then we threw them off there, and we were absolutely jazzed to come to New Orleans and to participate, but also to experience, just getting to know folks and really experience everything. We do have one more question from the interweb here.
Hold
Kate.
on.
Oh, go on, sir.
Hold on. Before we take that question, I still have time. Getting back to the other organizations and conferences to go to, especially if you're new. I left the STC off that list by mistake, the Society for Technical Communication, stc.org. I am a fellow of the STC. I exhibit at the STC, I advertise with the STC, I speak at the STC conference. The reason I want to plug it here is that is your membership organization as a content professional, right? They lobby on our behalf at the United States level, at least. Department of Labor. One of the things that's happening as people have meetups and webinars is kind of a fracturing of the industry, where we're really trying to bring that back together, is that this is a shared environment, it is a shared goal. We are going to have the STC as one of my exhibitors, so do stop by the STC booth while you're there. To follow up what Al said, SDC is really good for the core tracks of content development, where my conference kind of picks up and takes over the management, the strategy, the governance. But that is an excellent path to take. Go there, then come here. All right, what was the last question?
All right, so Kate, she had originally asked about the United Nations of Content, now via Twitter. Is there any prep work attendees should do to get the most out of the conference?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, there you have it. Go for it, Jeff.
We got 6 minutes. I want to stress to go back and watch the keynote sessions, not all the breakouts if you don't have time, but at least watch the keynotes from the last year or two on the website. We're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're going to take off where last year's sessions left off. So if you've never been to LavaCon before, you got to get up to speed quick. Given that my conference is about solving business problems, come prepared with the list of what problems your business is experiencing. Where are you hemorrhaging money? Where are you having bottlenecks in production? Where could you be making more revenue than you are now? What management problems or challenges are you running into? I'm getting ready to speak at the Chicago STC chapter next week, is it? And I'm talking about doing a career SWOT analysis, strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats. You can do your own SWOT analysis in your own department. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? Where are the opportunities that we can take advantage of, but I need help to avoid those threats or to take advantage of those opportunities? So do that analysis before you come to the conference. That way you'll know what you want to address. The other thing is, look through the speaker list and see which of the speakers are from what companies that are closest to you, and search them out and meet them. Hand them your business card, because you're more than welcome. All my speakers, I've got the best speakers in the world, because they want to interact with the audience. You know, they just don't show up for an honorarium and go, thank you, goodbye. No, they're engaging. They want to follow you on Twitter. They want to be followed on Twitter. We write blogs, and we share our best practices in chat rooms. And even with my exhibitors, one of the things that I offer my exhibitors is not just showing up for 3 days and leaving, but a year of cooperative marketing. So we're going to be sharing best practices and videos of the conference for the next year. So you're actually getting a year's worth of training out of your conference registration.
And one other source of information to see what's happened in the past is you've got 5 years worth of session summaries and feedback on techworld.com that you can certainly go to and check out what we talked about in the past and give you an idea of what's going to happen in the future.
Agreed. And if worse comes to worse and you just can't possibly attend in person or virtually, monitor the Twitter stream. So many of the golden nuggets, knowledge nuggets, people are going to be tweeting. You guys are going to have your roving reporters there as well. And we're also going to be broadcasting takeaways that attendees learned. So this is a great way that if you can't make it this year, and we hope you do, but you can go, look at what I missed. At least you can put it in your budget for 2016. So a little plug for next year as well. How are we doing? Any more questions? We got 2 minutes left.
I think we are out of questions. One final on that what should you do to prep? A couple things. One, really have an agenda in the sense of if you're coming to this conference, especially if it's the first time you've been to a conference or this one, look over that schedule. We do it actually as we're trying to cover. There's a lot there, and decide what you really want to take away from it. What you're wanting to do when you go back once you're finished. I think that's quite
also
big.
Many companies are sending multiple attendees, so if you do have multiple attendees from your company coming, get with them ahead of time and decide which sessions you're going to cover. That way you can go back and do that knowledge transfer.
Absolutely.
That's what we do with the folks that we have covering it. We decide who's going to which session so we can make sure that we broaden the base as much as possible.
Okay, general announcement. The Astrocom Plaza is sold out on Saturday night and Wednesday night, but they do have rooms available the other nights if you're just coming in for a day or two. We've got a group block at the DoubleTree down the street, and we just added a group block at the Wyndham around the corner and the Hyatt next door, a little bit higher room rate, but check the conference website. Over the next few days, we'll have those links posted.
Very nice, very nice. Well,
also, if anybody wants to share a room, same sex, please. I don't want to be hooking up anybody at the conference, but feel free to email me, jack@lavacon.org, and I'll connect you with other people also looking to share space just to keep some money down, cost down.
Good deal. All right, we are out of time and out of questions, so we're going to wind it down here. Hopefully everyone who's been able to watch this understands LavaCon, maybe a little bit more about enterprise content. We hope all of you can join us in New Orleans, October 18th to 21st. You can go to lavacon.org for far more information. Reach out to any of us on Twitter. We can certainly push that. Jack, thank you so much for joining us and sharing a lot about
thanks for having me.
Conference. Connie, thank you. Jill, for helping us take some notes. And for everybody at Tech World, thank you so much. And we'll see you in New Orleans in a few weeks.
New Orleans. Okay.
Bye.
All right, guys. Bye.